Welcome to the Kindness Project, the podcast designed to share stories of kindness and share how kindness can make positive change in our world, one small act at a time.
This week on the Kindness Project, we talk about Molotov cocktails, Life's theme tune, and part one of the interview with Bernadette Russell. Welcome to the Kindness Project. I'm joined by the man who drank one too many Molotov cocktails that's good for his system.
I've never drunk a Molotov cocktail in my life, but we will tell the story about why you think Molotov cocktails are alcoholic. And I'm joined by a girl who's so smiley. Her theme tune should be Pharrell's Happy. It's Charlotte Ames.
Woo!
So you're happy?
I'm happy. I'm warm, but I'm happy.
It's hot and happy today, isn't it? Yeah, it's too hot for me, this weather. You know what? I had a conversation with somebody the other day, and I said to them, how are you getting on? And they went to me, perfect, but too hot. Now, the reality is, you cannot be perfect, and then the first thing you say after talking about your perfection is a moan. I mean, I don't. That makes no sense to me. You can't be perfect and then too hot in the same description. Don't know what that means at all. So, Shu, do you want to share why you're talking about Molotov cocktails?
Basically, this guy over here.
This guy over here. So somebody you just met.
We were talking about the Russian Revolution and Stalin, and he goes, you know who was in Stalin's cabinet? Molotov, the creator of the Molotov cocktail. And I was like...
And then Charlotte went, oh, I don't know what Molotov cocktail is. I'm not a big fan of cocktails. I don't really drink alcohol. Not realising that actually the Molotov cocktail was a weapon. Why was it called a cocktail? Is it because there was a cocktail of different...
It's a combination of different...
Yeah, a combination of different materials. So it is a cocktail, but just not one you'd consume. Well, you'd have one or two and then probably leave it, wouldn't you?
You'd have one or two and then probably die.
Yeah, true. And I think Molotov did die in the end. He got killed by Stalin, which is a happy story. Great way to start the Kindness Project. Just, should we talk about Stalin? I mean, that's not like one of the least kind people in human history. Next week on the Kindness Project, Genghis Khan and
prolific breeder.
What do you think your theme tune, apart from Happy, would be?
I don't know. I think it'd be something very happy in the song. The music would be really happy, but the lyrics would just be completely thrown.
Oh, you know what? The best band I know for that is the Joy Division are good for that. The Cure are good for that.
Yeah.
The Smiths are good for that.
Yeah.
So, like, have you ever heard Girlfriend in a Coma?
No.
That is an awesome song. And actually quite upbeat, but the lyrics are proper downbeat. I will play you Girlfriend in a Coma, just so you... Because I think what you just described, upbeat tune, downbeat lyrics, is perfect for that. So today's question of the podcast, funny enough, is what would you reckon my theme tune would be if I had a theme tune?
Something very optimistic.
Okay. Always look on the bright side of life.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, because it's just like, especially when it goes, just before you join us.
Yeah. I like the bit that just goes, cheer up, Brian. And there's a slight Brian instead of Brian. Cheer up, Brian. It ain't too bad. I love that. Always looking the bright side of life. I'm happy.
Bunch of guys are about to die.
But you know... But yeah, are they Irish? There wasn't one Irish person persecuted by the Romans, I don't think. Well, there might have been, but I don't know whether there was or not. Yeah. Oh, cheer up, Brian. We shouldn't do accents on this podcast at all, should we? Cheer up, Brian.
Probably in America.
So I think always look at the bright side of life might be it. But also... because of that thing where we do talk a lot about knowing you're going to die, memento mori, knowing you're going to die is actually a motivator in life because you don't want to waste it. So I think I always looking at the bright side of life. I can get beyond that.
What memento mori translates
Go on then.
Remember
Is it?
death.
Yeah, absolutely. Always remember death because it means that you can make your life more meaningful. I thought memento mori was Latin for Molotov cocktail.
Pretty much the same thing.
So how can people... Oh, sorry. The question of the podcast is, if you could pick your own theme tune for your life or your attitude or you as an individual, what would it be?
Something very optimistic in sounding, but if you pay closer attention...
No, I've asked. I've asked you. I was asking our listeners, what would it be? So, listeners, feel free to contact us by doing the following.
Oh, yes, the email. Hola@thekindnessproject.co.uk.
That's HOLA at thekindnessproject.co.uk.
Twitter is @Ola. Oh, Ola.
Hola.
I was going to say Ola the Kindness.
Twitter is @Hola, HOLA, kindness. And then what's next? Our own personal Twitter profiles. I'm at Chris Dames, CHRIS, D for Delta, A for Alpha, E for Echo, M for Mother, S for Swizzle.
Unless some aliens have taken over my brain and changed my Twitter account, it's @Charlotte J Dames, CHARLOTTE JDAEMS.
And we'd like to know this week what your theme tune for your life would be if you got to choose it.
Yeah.
So shall we have a little bit of kindness news?
Yeah.
Are you ready for kindness news? You sure? Yeah, normally talking works on a podcast better than just going, So, I've told everybody what we're doing. Would you like to do the jingle?
Don't laugh at me.
What edition?
Football edition.
Football. And what kind of football are you talking about?
World Cup.
World Cup, Kindness News World Cup edition. Tell us about some World Cup edition Kindness News.
Kylian Mbappe.
Yeah.
Whether that's how you say his name or not. I have no idea. I'm sorry if I'm slaughtering someone's name.
Kylian
Ashamed the French.
Mbappe.
Yeah, it's MBA.
He was the young guy who was on the French team, wasn't he?
Yeah, like 19-year-olds.
Yeah.
He's going to hand over all his earnings from the World Cup.
Okay.
Which is 681,000.
681,000.
Yes. He's going to hand all his earnings.
What? Shirt button? 681,000 Turkish lira? Or $681,000?
He's going to give it all to a charity called Premier de Corde.
Yeah. I'm so glad you didn't pick French as a GCSE. Premier de Corde. We're going to give the cash to this firm called Premier de Corde. What a Premier...
No, I did pretty well in my French speaking. Anyway.
Not in that accent.
No, I didn't. Basically, what this charity does is they give free sports instruction to hospitalised and disabled kids in sports.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
He's giving all his World Cup earnings to them.
Yeah. He's a good player, though. He's not short of a quid or two, but I think...
He scored a couple of goals, I think.
Yeah.
It was 4 in the time.
Are you reading that? Because you didn't watch much of the World Cup, did you, at all? You weren't into the World Cup. But I think if you're lucky enough to be talented enough to play at top level football, you should also be grateful enough to turn around and go, right, how am I going to give back? Yeah. And there are specific players who get that what they get to do is highly rewarded and is an absolute privilege, and they do give back in spades. So I love that.
Like this dude.
Like this dude. Mbappe was, did you say his name was?
Mbappe.
Mbappe. But yeah, excellent news, well done. Is that the only piece of World Cup related kindness news you've got? It's a good enough for me. So this week we've got an interview, and this week we're interviewing Bernadette Russell, who wrote The Little Book of Kindness, a book I read a little while ago now, and I loved it, absolutely loved it. So she's also a performance artist, actress, writer, lives in South London, tries to work out ways to be kind to people every single day, which is incredible. But also put Bernadette Russell into YouTube and you'll find her her theatre show, because that was one of the kindest and one of the funniest theatre shows that I've seen in a long time. So that was really good. We've got part 1 this week and part 2 next week. Should we get on with part 1?
Yes.
Hi Bernadette, how are you?
I'm all right, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, really, really good, thanks. Thanks for coming on. I loved your YouTube video of your play explaining your project. It was really good fun.
But we'd forgotten that it was on YouTube.
Did you?
I said to Gavin, Chris said he's seen that. I said, is it on YouTube? And we both looked, yeah, we'd forgotten. I think it used to be on a private setting when it was touring.
Oh, right, okay.
No, but it's really good, actually. We toured it for kind of couple of years, and we're just talking again this year about
doing it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm sort of glad it is public, because number one, all of your confessions at the start about how you've not been particularly kind did make me laugh. Particularly your friend in Greece, which the video's now public, and so is her name, Bernadette. How can you do that to her?
It's funny, she said to me, because she told a few of us that story, and she said everybody used it as the story of sort of ultimate holiday embarrassment.
Yeah, no, that's
she's an American person, but since then, other extraordinarily embarrassing things have happened to her, which I'm not going to
share.
But yeah, she's one of those. But she just took it in her stride. I think she was quite proud.
Yeah, we've all got one mate, haven't we? I think that mate might be me. That's the problem. Do you know what I mean? That's the challenge. I'm the one who tends to. I'll tell you this story. My when I was 17, I slept walk out my house, wearing just my pajamas, bottoms but no top, and I told the kids because I thought it'd be a funny story to share. So Sophie, my 6-year-old, came back the other day and went, Dad, do you remember that time you slept walk out the house in just your bottoms and no top? I went, yeah. She went, yeah, I've told all my class. Just told everybody in her school. I went, what did they do? And I went, they all laughed. I was like, okay. And then I went, what? How did it come up? And my 6-year-old Bernadette just went, yeah, it was just in conversation. I was like, how does that happen? How does a conversation like that actually occur? I don't know, but it was good all the same. So
it's to be embarrassed, isn't it?
No, you know what? I think I like a good story, and I think stories like that are not the worst in the world. And where did your partner's name's Gareth, right?
Yeah.
Where did he learn those funky dance moves that I saw on the YouTube video?
He never rehearsed it. He just broke out a different dance move.
So when you take it on tour, does he change the dance moves?
He does, yeah. He kind of allows whatever inspires him that particular night to come out.
Yeah, whatever's flowing, he'll do. Yeah, I like it.
Actually, during the course, the second year that we toured it, he was quite ill.
Okay.
And he had he's fine now, but he had to have various operations and stuff, and he still broke out all the dance moves. It was heroic.
Awesome.
Yeah, he danced his way back to health.
Maybe that's the key. Maybe they should sort of teach that in rehabilitation, just the power of dance as a rehabilitative thing. So we've been chatting there for a few minutes, but you haven't told me anything about you for our listeners. So tell me a little bit about you.
So my name's Bernadette Russell, and I in relation to what we're talking about now, say I'm an artist, that sounds terribly pretentious, but it's basically generally covers all the different things I do. So mainly I'm a writer, but I also make theatre and sometimes big installations and stuff.
Okay.
I run a storytelling club, and so I was sort of getting on with doing all of those things, and open to theatre shows and etc. etc. And in the midst of all that, but not as a project, just as a sort of human thing, I was in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
And, I was hungover, which is sort of contractual yeah.
It's what artists do, right?
Yeah, one feels obliged to get drunk in Edinburgh. So I love the Edinburgh Festival. It's fantastic.
Yeah, so do I. Yeah, it's great up there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's like a little bubble. Well, actually, that's sort of part of the story, because it's completely self-contained. So while you're up there, you kind of lose track of the rest of the world. It's a bit like going into Narnia, but Narnia if people drank cocktails.
Yeah.
So I was there and having a nice time, and I was having some breakfast with my friends in this cafe called the City Cafe, which I always go in, and the telly was on, but they had the sound down, and there were the images from London. This was in 2011 when the riots broke out in London. Yeah. And actually, because the sound was down, it kind of made it worse, worse, because we couldn't hear what the report was initially. It just looked like, wow, has there been like a civil war or something? Yeah. It was extraordinary. And then as the day went on, the story unfolded. It sort of broke us out of this sort of theatre bubble that we'd been in. Yeah. And, we were trying to contact people back home. Yeah. Gary, back at home, I contacted him. He was kind of okay. We're from Deptford, lovely Deptford in South East London, which wasn't affected, but around it was. And I had lots of friends in Tottenham, which was where it started. And, so trying to get in touch with people. But the main thing for me was the reaction, which was understandably fearful. Yeah. And people panicking and locking themselves in their houses. Yeah. But there was another reaction which was really unpleasant, which was this anti-poor, anti anyone that wasn't white. Yeah. Reaction to it, which somehow came from this weird. David Starkey saying white people become black, and the Daily Mail doing Richard Littlejohn on the Daily Mail saying they should be clubbed like baby seals. Yeah. This sort of. I
understand.
I'm sorry, I sort of mentioned names then, but I think it's important because I think it sparked lots of things in me. And one of them was you have a responsibility when you have any sort of public platform. Yeah. To not increase sort of fear and hate, I think. Yeah. You have a moral responsibility, actually. But it was so hateful. And, the courts were open for 24 hours. I was like, the courts weren't open for 24 hours when, the bankers stole all of our money. Yeah. Courts are suddenly open because of it. And a woman I heard about got a prison sentence for 2 years for accepting a bottle of water she hadn't even stolen.
Yeah.
It was just really, it was really unpleasant, but I felt sorry for people as well. I understood the fear. Yeah. So I came back to London. Everyone was going, you can't go back. Like it turned into sort of Blade Runner or something. And I went back because I booked a ticket back, and it's hellishly expensive to change it last minute. So I was just like, I'm going to get my train. I came back in and it was quiet. But weird in London, and my neighbours were very upset because their brother's shop had been completely trashed. Yeah. But then really positive things started to come out, like a man who's since become a friend of mine, Dan Thompson, started a thing called Riot Clean Up. Yeah. On Twitter, he got gangs of people together to clean up their mess. Yeah. Which was amazing, considering he wasn't even a Londoner, he's from Worthing. Yeah. And he got all that organised. There were lots of people in Peckham. People covered a wall with post-it notes basically saying, "We love Peckham. Don't trash our community." Yeah. And there began to be sort of a better conversation about it. But for me, it was, to be honest with you, Chris, it was a bit of I think for a long time, underneath the surface, not really as a conscious thing, I've been thinking, I'm really enjoying. I write a lot of sort of inspired by history, I suppose, a lot of my work is. And I've just written this play about the discovery of anaesthetics in the 19th century, which was a comedy, even though it doesn't sound like it's very funny. And it was great. I was like, I'm not sure, I remember I wanted to make a difference. I don't know, I wanted to make the world a more positive place.
Yeah.
That's not to say that comedies and theatre doesn't.
Yeah.
But when confronted with this, I started thinking about everything else.
What can you do to take action to do it? Yeah. I know, I see that. Do you So do you think having one of the things that sort of I'm thinking about a lot at the minute is gratefulness and how important that is in sort of understanding our kind. Do you think having an understanding of how lucky we are today comes from having a sense of history? Yeah,
absolutely nailed it. Yeah. Gratitude's hugely important and actually massively beneficial for your mental health. Anyway.
Yeah, agreed.
Caught up and encouraged, can't you, to moan?
Yeah.
It actually doesn't do you any good.
Well, you know what? I think there's two elements of what you said there. Number one is the sort of element of something like that happens, and suddenly the first thing that certain individuals do, and unfortunately individuals with certain platforms, is they start to point fingers. And actually that never solves the problem, does it? It's actually understanding what's underneath in terms of the sort of what we do about the societal issues is more important than turning around and sort of dehumanising people. But you tend to find that, in a lot of occasions where something as sort of a flashpoint occurs, the people come out and it starts getting typically quite negative. But on the other hand, your flashpoint inspired you to be kind. So do you think people need a flashpoint to say, you know what, I need to change something? And was that the case for you?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It's kind of a hard one to answer. I wasn't particularly aware of it. I was looking for something more. So perhaps something else might have sparked. I don't know.
Yeah.
Might have sparked it. It was very impulsive. I literally got home, went into the post office, ended up giving this boy 50p because he didn't have enough money for a stamp.
Yeah.
And on the way home, thought I'm going to do this every day.
Awesome.
It wasn't planned. There was nothing. I mean, a lot of people that are sort of involved in the movement, if you can call it that, are a lot more organised than me and have started up charities and organisations, and that's brilliant. But I wasn't like that, and I've never been. It was more sort of impulsive, and I think lots of people. And since then, I've met a lot of people who something has just sparked it, and I just thought, right, that's enough.
Sure.
I'm gonna. So you can either sink into a sort of despair, you can respond to fear and the message of fear and the message of hate, or you can respond with hope and with love.
Yeah, and with just. But you know what? I think and this is the other interesting thing, because we're interviewing people for the Kindness Project at the minute who have done sort of big grand gestures, and that's awesome, right? Starting charities and getting thousands of people together and doing that sort of stuff is great. But I think that when reading your book and sort of watching your show, what inspired me was it doesn't take that. You don't need to be that sort of person to think about that. Some of the acts of kindness that you can do are just really simple. Giving somebody 50p in the post office is, will make their day better, and it will make you feel happier, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important because most people do not have the facility, the opportunity, or the time or energy to start a charity. I'm not criticising that; it's brilliant. Yeah, I think it's really important because actually those things are vital, but the practice, the practical practice of daily just being kind in your life, being nice to your neighbours, smiling at people, helping people out of luggage, all of that stuff. That's kind of what makes the world go round. Yeah. And also, it's possible for everybody there, and it's possible for me. I was really busy that whole year I was doing it. Wasn't, I still had my regular life. Yeah. And I suppose since then people have said, "Oh, don't you want to start something? Don't you want to, make it into an organisation?" Yeah. I thought there are already things that exist, so I can join them. Yeah. And no, I don't really. It was more about responding as a human being. Yeah. I think the vital message is You don't have to run 7 marathons in a row.
Yeah.
You don't have to climb Everest, even though all of those things are brilliant. You don't have to start a international charity.
Yeah.
You can just
do small things. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And take the opportunities and notice the opportunities. But the other thing is you start to notice kindness in the world, and that's
you do.
A huge benefit to
you
mental
do.
health.
So, in your book, Little Book of Kindness, which I've got to admit, I'm only a third of the way through. I got it on Saturday, so I'm gonna finish reading it. Hopefully, over the next few days. You talk about why it's important to be kind to yourself. Why do you think it is important to be kind to yourself?
I think I'm still learning about that. I've learned from other people about sort of self-compassion. And I would say, wasn't very kind to myself that first year.
Yep.
And I got really frazzled and sort of exhausted. And every time someone said to me, you need to be kind to yourself, I would back then be like, no, yes. But everybody says that. It's really important to be kind to other people. But actually, and then my friend said to me that when she was a little girl, she was 8 years old, and she was on an aeroplane.
Okay.
And her mum she said to her mum, why is the air steward saying that the grown-ups have to put their mask on if there's an accident, oxygen mask, before they put it into the children? And her mum said, well, you have to do that. You have to help yourself so you're able to help other people. Yeah. And it really stayed with her and sort of taught her about self-compassion. Yeah. So I think you just have to keep your strength up. Yeah. But 2, I think we are, as well as receiving sort of messages of fear and hate about the world in general, we also are bombarded with those messages about ourselves. We're supposed to look a certain way, we're supposed to be a certain way. The definitions of success and happiness and ambition are too narrow and framed in capitalism. There are other ways, and so you can start thinking, I'm not tall enough, I'm not thin enough, I'm not rich enough. Everyone feels like that. Yeah. So,
I mean, you're right. I mean, effectively, that a lot of those messages come from the fact that people want to sell you stuff, and even though capitalism in itself isn't bad, you need to be selective about the elements that you buy into, and that takes a bit of a filter, doesn't it? To not let those negative messages sort of come across. I'm just curious. How many? Because in the book you had the sort of opportunistic acts of kindness where you saw somebody who needed some money for the stamp, and then you had your planned ones. Now the planned one I like the most, and I'm thinking about pinching it actually, if I'm being perfectly frank, is your Valentine's Day one, where you give out loads of cards. But how many of your acts of kindness were planned and how many were intentional? Planned and intentional, they're exactly the same thing. Let me rephrase that again. How many were planned and how many were just, you had the opportunity to help?
Well, first of all, Valentine's Day, so I do that every year now. Okay. Because, trying to sort of promote that a little bit. I think Valentine's Day sort of deserves to be hijacked a little bit. Okay. The broader festival of love. So yeah, do it. Join us. Okay. Secondly, what I decided to start doing was sort of plan something in case an opportunity didn't arise, because sometimes it didn't.
Gotcha.
I was in the house, so I didn't meet anyone. Yeah. Because the first year it was all to strangers. Yeah. Sometimes it was just because it was impractical, because I wasn't very well or was dashing about. Yeah. So I always sort of had something planned, which would get put to one side if the opportunity was. But also, quite often I did more than one thing in a day. Yeah. I would just record one. And that was quite good fun. So I tried to make them really creative. Okay. Do sort of... I put quite a lot of messages out on social media, asking people if they knew anyone that wanted a surprise. Yeah. And I would just think about creative ways of doing that. So that kind of keeps you interested in it as well, because that makes it easier if you're going to try and do it every day. Yeah, so
so did you, if you did 2 in a day, did you stack one up for the next day? Is that how it worked?
I know, I was really strict. Yeah. I'm glad as well, actually, because there's something interesting about daily practice.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
It's like, I suppose it's like if you do yoga every day, if you do meditation every day. There's something about that. It's like it felt like my marathon or something.
Yeah. So that was the first part of our interview with Bernadette Russell. She's nice, isn't she? She's so nice. And we'll have part 2 next week.
Yeah.
It's the end!
No, it's the end.
And it's also incredibly hot, isn't it, Charlotte?
I have taken my jumper off. Luckily, I was wearing a vest top underneath.
That says, weirdly, Permaid. I've never seen that t-shirt on you.
Oh, I wear it on holiday.
Oh, dear?
Yeah.
Well, funny you should mention that, because the end is never the end, because we always have...
Question of the podcast. Last week, this week, last week.
And interestingly, your Permaid related comment that you only wear it on holiday is pertinent this week, because question of the podcast last week, pertinent because you're a Permaid, was what's your funniest travel story? And last week we talked about some of the travel stories that you found was made you laugh, particularly being covered in mud. And
you know what I missed?
What?
You belly dancing with your top off.
Yeah, that was a bit embarrassing. Should we quickly move past that one?
And his top tucked in trousers. And it was belly dancing on stage.
Well, look, let's be honest, you cannot belly dance with a top, can you? The whole idea of belly dancing is that you dance showing your belly. I mean, otherwise it'd be called dancing, wouldn't it? It'd just be called dancing.
Well, if you're still using your belly.
Yeah, but you need to show your belly, I think, to do a proper belly dance. Listeners, that's a quandary for you. Can you really call a belly dance a belly dance?
If you're not showing your belly.
If you're not showing your belly. So we had some really good answers this week. Victor Sachs, friend of the show?
Not sure.
Okay, nearly. Said, so, with a wife, Lake District, new A3 convertible, beautiful sky, but unbeknownst to us, it was windy. I want to get out and view the sunset. He opens the door flies open and almost opens to 180 degrees. I'm in tears, the door's damaged, wife is laughing, then we go up to a hill by foot to see the view, and then he falls in some sheep poo, and he found that was really funny. And then he's just slipping and he's doing like a cartoon run where his legs are moving like that. Again, not good for a podcast, but like a road runner style run.
Not the ones with the dust clouds, but all you can see is the little legs.
Exactly. And then he falls flat on his back. His wife is laughing again. Victor's wife is doing a lot of laughing in this story.
I agree with you. This is a hilarious situation.
And she still laughs, again, still laughing, 15 years later, whenever anyone mentions the Lake District. So the Lake District to her is
Particularly funny place.
etched in Victor's wife's memory as the district that he fell in some sheep poo in. Jane Hodges, new contributor, not yet friend of the show, but thanks for the contribution, Jane. You've done that a couple of times now. Jane Hodges said, my other half rod once ended up in a Sri Lankan brothel. It was supposed to be a nightclub with some strange looking women, locked doors, no windows and no menu for drinks. Escaped into the middle of nowhere laughing so hard from relief, and amazingly found a tuk-tuk who couldn't believe he had found these two Westerners on a dark road in the early hours of the morning. Didn't feel lives endangered through experience, but wallets and dignity definitely needed protecting. We've had so many more adventures. So wondering, have you ever wandered into a Sri Lankan brothel?
What is a brothel?
It's a place where prostitutes hang out.
Full zone.
So
Did they think they were prostitutes? Or did...
I think the word might be punters, but they weren't. They just wandered in accidentally. John Cook, friend of the show, said, me and Mark forgot where our hotel was the first time we went to Amsterdam. We spent 3 days at a music festival, and we were at Central Station with Marco trying to find the hotel details on his phone, with his phone repeatedly saying, "I don't understand." In the end, we took a walk and found a much nicer hotel. Wasn't great at the time, but looking back on it, very funny.
It's like, no, can't find my hotel. My phone's telling me it's lost.
Yeah, have you ever, listeners, lost your hotel? That'd be a good question. Dean Cook said, flying from Gatwick several years ago for a golf holiday, we'd all checked in and I needed to use the loo. I'm sitting in my cubicle concentrating when suddenly I had a guy in the next toilet cough, and a second later a set of dentures hit the floor and roll under the partition to the cubicle. I remember just sitting there staring for a few seconds thinking, there's some false teeth that's rolled into the toilet while I'm doing the loo. What should I do? So I picked them up, asked if he was okay. Then all of a sudden, a hand comes from under the cubicle and starts grabbing the gashes until he found them. So he found them on his own. So that was our holiday-related stories. That, listeners, is true. Just a couple of questions that rise from that you can help us with. Number one, have you ever lost your hotel?
Number two, have you ever lost your teeth?
Number two, have you ever lost your teeth? Number three, have you ever accidentally walked into a brothel? I don't know. And number four, have you ever accidentally or purposefully slipped on sheep's poo up in the Lake District? So,
or anywhere for that.
Or anywhere. Oh, yeah.
Or if you have another funny little story in the Lake District.
Yeah, well, if you've got, that's the follow-up question. Have you got your own Lake District story, or is there a place where people go, you know what, that is really a place that always makes me laugh because of what happened there? And on that note,
goodbye.
It's truly the end.
Just the end.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.